Mhm. Hi Priya, Namaste Kumarji, Pranav, Hare Krishna. I'm just going to start the session 2-3 minutes late today. Hare Krishna, very nice to see you all. So, Hare Krishna, Pranav, Priya. We'll just wait for a few more people to join. I just want to know, Hare Krishna Shachi, Hare Krishna Kumarji. So before we start, I think we have like a few minutes. So I want to know, have you all been attempting the quiz and how has your experience with the quiz been? What do you think? Any feedback about the quizzes? This whole course and its content are not created by me. It's all through ISKCON. So I will share your feedback with them. Yes, Pranav, are you saying
Yeah, I
something?
think it's perfect the way it is. I would say it's perfect the way it is.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
How about the others, Indumati ji and Hare Krishna, Kumar ji, Priya, Shachi? Okay. Okay, have you put it in the chat box? I'm sorry. Hare Krishna, Shachi. Challenging, yeah. Some of the descriptive questions I agree, and yeah, some of the MCQs as well are quite challenging. I did not score 10 on 10 or whatever in my first attempt of those quizzes. Yeah. I just asked, we'll start like at 5 today, 5 minutes later. So I was just asking, how are you finding the quizzes? Have you all been attempting the quizzes and how are you finding it? Hare Krishna, Ashwat Kumar ji. Right. And today is going to be a very interesting Karthik is struggling to get 100%. Today it's going to be a very interesting chapter. The 15th chapter is called Purushottama Yoga. And it's actually chanted. This whole 15th chapter is chanted in several different ashramas. It holds that kind of significance, before food and after food. A lot of the Vedic scholars, they chant the 15th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Because it has a lot of hidden philosophical truths. It's a very small, it's among the smallest chapters, just 20 shlokas, but content is just extraordinary, beautiful. Okay, Shachi says about the quizzes, the content is good. However, every time before attempting, I go back and read the PDF shared. Definitely challenging. Yeah, it's challenging. That's why it's a course. I mean, you're going through the Bhagavad Gita. You're not. It's not like Bhagavad Gita is not an easy book to understand. So yeah, the quiz should be a little bit challenging at least. Yeah, Diktanshu, you have some feedback about the quizzes? Okay, okay. 8 out of 10 and 9 out of 10 is like pretty good for the quiz, the level of the quizzes that we've made. Pranav says, I think that difficulty is needed too, and it made me open the shloka and reflect my lifestyle. Yeah. Hare Krishna Prashant, Hare Krishna Karen. It's nice to have you all. We will start in the next 2 minutes. I was just asking how everybody has been finding the quizzes. I got some feedback that some people are finding it quite challenging. How have you been? How have you all found it? Sorry. Is it very challenging? Is it manageable? Is it making you think? So I'd love to know your feedback, on how you find personally the quizzes. Right. And we are working already towards designing your certificates and all of that. So, and the event to make it a grand success. So you all should join and that will make it the biggest hit, right? I hope that you all join the program on that day, whether or not you've completed the quizzes. Completing all the quizzes would be cherry on top because you will be handed the certificate by the president of ISKCON Scotland. Kumarji, descriptive questions are good. Okay. Prashant is saying it's quite easy. Prashant is the brilliant, enlightened being with us, I have to admit. Okay. Diptanshu suggesting that Prashant shares all his answers with everybody. Okay. All right. So let's make a quick start. Today it's the 15th and the 16th chapters of the Bhagavad Gita. Like always, I humbly bow down to all of you and request that you please give me your prayers and blessings so that whatever I speak today is in accordance with what Lord Krishna had told Arjuna in the battlefield of Kurukshetra and what has been passed down through the disciplic succession through the Guru Parampara system, right? Please join me in this prayer. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupah Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapadakammalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छा कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन्निति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. Hare Krishna. Very warm welcome to everybody. And like always, we dedicate this session to the founder, Acharya of ISKCON, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Right. The chapter today is all about Lord Krishna himself, his abode, where he lives, how is that abode? There are descriptions about that spiritual world, that spiritual abode, where we aim to go back to. Right. So this particular chapter is called Purushottama Yoga because it's all about Lord Krishna. Right. Okay, so let's quickly see what we have previously seen and what we are going to see today. In the 14th chapter, we had an introduction to what is material nature and what are the three modes of the material nature, right? Material nature has three modes: mode of goodness, passion, and ignorance, right? Mode of goodness elevates us towards higher planetary systems, but it is still binding in terms that we still remain in the material plane, okay, or in the material world, where material world does not mean just this planet Earth. It means the entire planetary systems. There are 14 planetary systems according to Vedic scriptures considered to be within this Bhumandala or the material universe, okay. So despite having being in the mode of goodness, we still accumulate pious merit and we gain some kind of satisfaction staying in this material world, which is temporary. Even in the higher planets within this material world, one is bound to undergo birth, death, old age, and disease. So these are the permanent changes in the material universe. But the spiritual universe, unlike the material universe, is not transient. It is permanent. It's a permanent abode, and people do not undergo such changes of birth, death, old age, and disease there, right? So we saw in the previous chapter, the acronym was TRAP, because these three material modes, they control us like puppets, and their influences our personality, behavior, and character, right? So these three modes are always competing with each other to predominate, right? So there's a race for prominence. What are the actions in the three modes? In the mode of goodness, you work towards your ambitions, goals, and progress. Okay. In the mode of passion, you have like a passionate and aggressive approach towards things, right? And the mode of ignorance, it is lethargy, procrastination, and laziness, right? But there is a necessity to be free from all these three modes. And in the 26th verse of the 14th chapter, we saw that Krishna tells that there is one way to free yourself from the influence of all these three modes, okay, despite them being so strong. And that way is through constant remembrance of Lord Krishna. Always remember Lord Krishna, never forget Lord Krishna. That was the takeaway, right? In the Monday's class that we had. So today we're going to see what is our real home. So this chapter's acronym is HOME, HOME, right? H, if you see this description, the first thing is two very contrasting things, right? It says home or hotel. We'll see why is this, okay? O is on and on, over and over again. So what is this repeating cycle? M is maintainer of the body, mind, and soul. So in this 12 to 15 shloka, Lord describes his presence and who he is as a person, what kind of a lover he is. Okay. And E, essence in 3 verses. The essence of this whole chapter, which is a beautiful description of the spiritual world and God himself, is going to be given in 3 verses. So we will see this. HOME is the acronym for this chapter. So home or hotel. Now, first, before looking at how the spiritual world is, we need to see what this material world is and where we are. Okay. So this material world has been described previously as Dukkhalayam Ashashvatam in the 8th chapter and 15th verse. Okay. Dukkhalayam means the abode of misery. Misery is one thing that is definitely going to come in this world, distress and misery. Ashashvatam means temporary. So this material world, all the planets here, including this planet Earth, are abodes of distress, transient abodes of distress. So what do you think? Is this like a place where we get a nice homely feeling? Is it like a home, or is it like a hotel where you temporarily stay and then you'll have to move on? What do you think? Can I quickly have your responses in the chat box? Yes, Deeptanshu, you wanted to say something. Go ahead.
I thought it's like a hotel. Eventually, if we either do good, or if we do absolute bad, we have to leave this home. So
yeah, whether you do good or bad, irrespective of that, death is inevitable and imminent for everybody.
So we have to leave this world eventually at some point. So
yes. Yes. Nobody can stay permanently. So it's like a hotel is what Diptanshu is saying. Kumarji is saying temporary stay only. right. And yes, it's temporary. And Ashwat Kumarji, Karen says hotel, Priya says hotel. Absolutely. Absolutely temporary hotel. So the place that we are in, what is the point of trying to accumulate material wealth and material objects, cars, houses, or even a lot of people, because nobody or nothing is going to come with us once we have to leave this body behind. So if you are going on a trip, and imagine it's going to be a tough, let's say you are going on a hike, okay? You're going on a hike to a little challenging mountain. And of course, it's not that you reach the summit and you stay there forever, because there's nothing on the summit. You have to come down, right? So when you're going on this trek, will you carry a huge bag with a lot of weight with you? Okay. Can you tell me? Will you carry like a huge bag with a lot of weight, or will you pack light? Will you pack only essentials? Yeah. So when you're going on a trip that you know is going to be challenging, there is going to be distress, and you have to come down, it's necessary that you pack only the essentials, isn't it? If you carry a whole load of weight, this happened with me on a real trek. Okay, I asked my trek leads, well, how's the weather going to be there? They said it's going to be cold on the summit. So I packed sweater, my something to cover my ear, a lot of food and a lot of things. And this was among my first treks. And I had a horrible time while climbing. Okay. It could have been a nice experience, but I had to literally carry huge load with me. So when we are on this journey of this traveling or passing through this body, which is temporary, and in a planet in which we can live for a very short time, it's necessary that we keep only what's essential. Okay. And if we keep, and after reaching the summit, if you decide to pick up too many things from the summit, your descent is also going to be distressful. Obviously, it is distressful. Now you're making it distressful for yourself, right? It's the same thing with this journey of life. Okay. We come empty handed, we have to travel empty handed, we have to go empty handed. There's nothing that we can take along. Nothing is essential here except for our relationship with Krishna. What is essential on a trek where you do not know how to go about, you do not know the way? You need guidance, isn't it? You need a guide to take you through. So Krishna is constantly present with us as that guide, and he is giving guidance as that little inner voice. But if we turn a blind eye towards this voice and keep our ears distracted with other loud noises, then we are bound to be lost, and we are bound to come again and again on this trek unless we discover the exit, isn't it? That's the exact thing that's happening with us. This place that we are in is like a hotel, and we might experience temporary happiness here, but we can't stay forever, isn't it? So what is this material world described as? The first shloka describes this. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Urdhvamulam adhashakham ashwatham prahuravyayam chandamsi yasya parnani yastam vedasa vedavit. Can I quickly ask Karen to read the translation, please?
The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "It is said that there is an imperishable banyan tree that has its roots upward and its branches down, and those leaves are the Vedic hymns. One who knows this tree is the knower of the Vedas."
Thank you so much, Karen. So there is this story, okay, of a king who lost his wife's favorite ring. Okay, a king who lost his wife's favorite ring. All right, the king had, this wife had to go somewhere, so she told her husband, the king, that, this is the ring that I have got from my maternal grandmother, and it's very special to me, and I'm going somewhere, so I want you to keep this very carefully with you. Okay. And the king keeps it with him very carefully in his, in his purse, let's say, and he goes for hunting. Okay, he goes to the forest for hunting. So he's done his hunting and all of that, and he decides to take rest along the riverbed. Okay, in the bank of the river, he decides to take some rest. All right. So while he's taking this rest, he realizes that he's lost his wife's ring, and he's all panicky. So he's searching all over the place, and he told all of his soldiers to start searching for the ring. Okay, everybody's looking everywhere. Then suddenly one of the soldiers tells the king that, "Oh, look, I'm able to see something shining inside the water." Okay. And everybody goes and peeps in and sees that apparently the ring is there in the water. Okay, that's the shining gem, the shining sapphire on the ring is visible. So now the king immediately instructs that, okay, all right, the ring's in the water. All of you, his soldiers instruct some of them to dive and bring that ring back. So 2 of the soldiers go in search for the ring inside the water. Now both of them are reaching the point where the ring is visible, but the ring isn't there. Okay. Then he sends 2 more soldiers, and this goes on, and nobody is able to secure the ring, although it's visible in the water. So the king is very distressed, and all the soldiers are confused. Like, what's happening? The ring is visible in the water, but then we're not able to get it. Why is this so? So there is a sage meditating on the other side of the bank, okay, of this riverbed. And in those times, sages were the intelligentsia of society. Okay, they were not people who were sitting idly and meditating. No, they were scientific, they were scientists, and they were very intellectual. So the king goes to the sage and requests him that, oh sage, my wife's ring, which is very dear to her, I've lost it. So it is visible in the water, but none of my soldiers have been able to secure it. Could you please help us? So the sage then comes up and looks at this ring that's visible in the water. And then he quickly takes a look at a banyan tree on the bank. Okay. There is a crow perching on that tree. And right next to the crow, there is the ring on one of the twigs, on one of the branches of the tree. And the sage then points out that, oh, you've been looking in the wrong place. So what you've seen in the water is actually a reflection of that ring, which is on the stem of the banyan tree. And the king, while hunting, has accidentally dropped the ring somewhere, and this crow has picked it up and put it on that branch very safely. And it was lucky that it was the tree on the bank of the same river that the king was resting in. So now the king and the soldiers realize that the ring is actually on the tree rather than on the inside the water. Okay. So why are we telling this story? We keep looking for happiness and bliss in this world, but what is this world actually? This material world is said to be a distorted or a perverted reflection of the spiritual world. Okay. So real knowledge, real happiness is actually in the actual tree, right? Which is the original manifestation is actually the spiritual world. That is not, the tree is not going to go anywhere, but the reflection will disappear when there is no light, isn't it? Similarly, this material world is just a perverted reflection of the spiritual world. If we search for eternal happiness and bliss in the material world, we have to search forever because it is not here. It is just not here, right? So the first verse of this chapter is explaining this difference between the material and spiritual worlds. The whole chapter with every single verse in this chapter is like this. Okay, a lot of story and a lot of explanation goes behind it. I'll try to explain as much as I can. So I hope you could all make sense of that analogy. And you should remember this analogy. So it says that this material world appears like an inverted banyan tree. When is a tree inverted? Have you ever seen an inverted tree? You can see this picture on the slide. So this is for representation purposes. Somewhere they've made a model of an inverted tree. But in reality, it does not exist. It can only exist in a reflection, right? So the tree is appearing upside down. Can you see this on the slide? So if you keep looking for happiness, if you keep looking for eternal love, lasting relationships and things like this in a reflection, and that too, a reflection is never constant, right? If something if somebody throws a stone in the water, the reflection is going to get distorted. If there's no light, the reflection wouldn't even be seen. So it's very transient. It is bound to change. So we cannot look for things, eternal emotions and eternal things in a temporary framework, isn't it? So that is why we are entrapped. That is why we keep searching for the ring in the wrong place, exactly like the king. We have to keep undergoing the cycle of birth and death, birth and death, birth and death, until we realize that, oh, we're looking in the wrong place, right? So how to free ourselves? We are in this perverted reflection of the spiritual world. This is a material world. It's illusion. The reflection is like an illusion, right? It appears as though there's something there, but it's not there. So how to free ourselves from this reflection? Correct designation, meaning identifying where the real happiness lies, where our real home lies. First, correctly designating where we are and identifying that. Detachment through attachment. This is a very important statement. Okay. There are so many things in this material world that we are attached to. It could be our children, it could be our parents, it could be our loved one or partner. Okay, it's people, there are so many things that we get so attached to. As kids will have their favorite toy. If somebody takes it away from them, they're so upset and annoyed. It's not just with kids, it's even with us. We are so attached to little things. So how do we get rid of this? None of these people or things can come with us when we leave this body. So how can we get rid of this attachment? And this attachment gives us a lot of pain. So how to get rid of this attachment? Detachment through attachment. How to detach ourselves? So it's only possible if we attach ourselves to something that is higher, something that's better, internal. That is why we say that we need to develop this loving relationship with God. We always had this relationship, but we have forgotten. So we have to rekindle it, get that memory back, and reestablish our unconditional loving relationship with Lord Krishna. Is constantly with us in the heart. If we develop an attachment with Krishna, all things, all things, those are temporary. Everything that is temporary, all temporary attachments will slowly stop making sense to you automatically. And it goes away on its own. You don't have to put an effort to detach. You have to just put an effort to attach yourself with Krishna in his loving, unconditional loving service, devotional service. And that is the only qualification you require. And when we develop this, we give up our assumption that we lord over this material nature. No, we do not. Material nature, we saw in the previous chapter, through her agents, through her modes, controls us like puppets. She's very strong. We cannot escape her influence. But if we develop a loving relationship with Lord Krishna, he is the controller of the entire universe, including material nature. She's subordinate to him. So with his mercy, we can easily free ourselves from the clutches of this illusory energy, Maya, and material nature. Right? So what is this on and over again? In the 6th to 11th verses, there is again the compare and contrast between the spiritual and the material worlds. Okay. So in this picture, you can see, I don't know how many of you have heard of this word, Vaikuntha. 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 Kuntha means distress. Okay. And Vai means without or no. So the abode of no distress, the abode where there are no fights, no distress, that is called Vaikuntha. And these Vaikuntha planets are where the Lord resides. Okay. And there is not one single Vaikuntha planet. It's a whole spiritual universe with several Vaikuntha planets and several living entities living there. Okay. It's believed that the spiritual universe is 3 times as big as the material universe, indicating that there are 3 times more living beings in the spiritual universe than in the material. Okay. And all living beings there experience opulences like God himself. There's very beautiful descriptions of Vaikuntha planets in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Everybody owns a private jet. It might seem like, something imaginary and luring us into things, but there are descriptions of this. Everybody owns their own private aircraft. Everybody has a 4-handed form like Lord Vishnu in Lord Vishnu's Vaikuntha planet. They are all as beautiful, as wealthy as Lord Vishnu himself, even including ordinary living entities like us who have gained the qualification through loving devotional service to enter the Vaikuntha planets. They get all these opulences like God himself. So, but if you look like God, if you have wealth like God, if you have a wife that looks like Goddess Lakshmi, it does not mean that you are God himself, right? This is the distinction that we have to understand. A lot of philosophy suggests that Aham Brahmasmi, meaning I am Brahma, I am God. No, Aham Brahma. Brahma essentially means the Atma Tattva that we have previously seen in the 2nd chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, right? So I am the soul. I am the soul, which is a part of the omnipresent super soul, right? The omnipresent energy of God or Lord Krishna. That is the meaning of Aham Brahmasmi. It is not that I am God myself. No. If we were God, we should be able to show our Vishwarupa. We should be able to predict everything. We should have those not even one or two qualities of God we have. So how can we assume that we are God? We are not. So what now? Let's see the description of the spiritual world. You see very interesting things here. Let me read the verse. न तद्भासयते सूर्यो न शशाङ्को न पावकः यद्गत्वा न निवर्तन्ते तद्धाम परमं मम. Who else has not read? Let me. Anybody wants to read the translation of this? I see Yutika here today. Hare Krishna, Yutika. Would you mind reading the translation? Or if anybody else would like? Priya. Yes. Go ahead, Priya.
Am I audible?
Yes, you are. Go ahead.
That supreme abode of mine is not illuminated by the sun or moon, nor by fire or electricity. Those who reach it never return to this material.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Priya. How amazing is it? Those who reach the spiritual world never return to this material world again. The material world is known to be temporary and filled with distress. So there is an abode where if we once reach, we don't have to come back here again and don't have to undergo these sufferings again, don't have to undergo birth, death, disease, and old age. And that abode, that supreme abode of mine, Lord Krishna says, is not illuminated by the sun or moon, nor by fire or electricity. And how is that there is no fire, no electricity, no sun, no moon? Some people would be like, oh, I wouldn't want to go to this place. No, but why is it not illuminated by these? It is a self-effulgent abode. It's self-effulgent. It has the light of its own. And because the spiritual world has this self-effulgence, and this effulgence is described to be as bright as crores and crores of suns put together. If you take the light of crores and crores of suns put together, what kind of effulgence would that have? That effulgence can be equated with that of the spiritual world. So this effulgence of the spiritual world reaches far and wide. And the yogis who practice meditation or dhyana yoga and they concentrate over light, some people, preach the meditation over light in your ajna and, in between your eyebrows and all of that. When you're concentrating on this light is just the effulgence of the spiritual world. You are not entering into the spiritual world. It is like reaching the base camp of Mount Everest and saying that I have completed the summit. I have already climbed Mount Everest. So that's the kind of thing with dhyana yoga. You're able to reach until the base and you think that that is the destination, while it's not. It's just the outer effulgence of the spiritual world. To become eligible to enter into the spiritual world, that light is called Brahma Jyoti. To go beyond the Brahma Jyoti and enter into the spiritual world, the one most important and only required qualification is unconditional love and devotional service towards Lord Krishna, towards God. And that is one eligibility criteria that we require. Unalloyed devotional service. Okay. So our lost connection with Lord Krishna, why are we assuming that this material world is the place that we belong to, and we have forgotten? Why have we forgotten this relationship? What is this connection that we have with God? Mamaivamsho jivaloke jivabhuta sanatanaha manashashtani indriyani prakritisthani karshati. There's a verse in the 15th chapter. So mamaiva amsho jivaloke, meaning all spirit souls are my parts and parcels. We are fragmented parts of Lord Krishna. We are fragmented parts of Lord Krishna. We, in our, because we are covered by this effect of the illusory energy Maya in this material world, we don't realize that we have been separated from Krishna. But Krishna, he is aware of this. It's almost like if you lose a part of your finger, how painful would this be for you? For Krishna, us forgetting him gives this kind of distress and pain, like he's lost a part of his finger. He experiences constantly separation from us. But we, birth after birth, forgetting our real connection with him, keep wandering through this material universe, not realizing how much suffering we are causing to Krishna by not performing devotional service, by not engaging in a loving relationship with him. He's waiting that we come back to the spiritual abode. It's said that once after spending millions of lifetimes here in the material universe, when we go back, when we become eligible finally to go back to the spiritual abode, Krishna is waiting there with tears in his eyes, saying that, how long have I been waiting for you? You're finally back. So that is something we don't realize. We are part and parcel. We are fragmented parts of Krishna, and it's an urgent situation for us. This human form of life is very rare to get in this whole sequence of passing through birth and death. 8.4 million species are there. We might get any body, and other bodies are not conducive for devotional service. This human body is extremely precious, and we need to put in efforts to start our devotional service and go back to Godhead, back to the spiritual abode where we belong to. So, what's the shloka, the verse? Mamaivamsho jiva loke jiva bhutas sanatanaha manashasthani indriyani prakriti sthani karshati. Can someone please read the translation? You can unmute yourself. Kartikeya, go ahead.
The living entities in the conditioned world are my eternal fragmental parts. Due to conditioned life, they're struggling very hard with their six senses, which include the mind.
Right. Because we have passed through lifetimes and lifetimes of experiencing the material world, we're assuming that this is our final abode. And our senses, our mind is conditioned to living here through millions of lifetimes. We forget our relationship with Krishna. We forget that we are part and parcel of Krishna. We are his fragmented parts. We keep forgetting this again and again. Material existence. What's the material existence? Shariram yadavapnoti yachapyutkramati grihitvaitani samyati vayurgandhan nivashayat. Could somebody read the translation, please? Arushi, would you mind reading the translation?
The living entity in the material world carries his different conceptions of life from one body to another, as the air carries aromas. Thus, he takes on one kind of body and again quits it to take another.
Yes, thank you. So this is a very important verse. The living entity in the material world carries his different conceptions of life from one body to another, as the air carries aromas. So he takes one kind of body and again quits it to take another body. So the conditioning that we get, we quit the gross body, the material body as such, but the subtle body, our mind, intelligence, and false ego continues with us, okay, through even while we migrate through different material bodies. So this mind has memories from several lifetimes, okay, and it carries conceptions of life from one body to another, as the air carries the aromas. This is said. Because of this conditioning, we continue in this cycle of birth and death on and on, over and over again. There is this cycle of reincarnation. The living entity, thus taking another gross body, obtains a certain type of ear, eye, tongue, nose, and sense of touch, okay, which are grouped about the mind. He thus enjoys a particular set of sense objects. The foolish cannot understand how a living entity can quit his body, nor can they understand what sort of body he enjoys under the spell of the modes of nature. But one whose eyes are trained in knowledge can see all of this. Pandita Samadarshinaha, there is another verse. So people who have this real knowledge understand that quitting this body, death is not a fearful process. It is something that we have undergone several times. Okay. And they're able to see that every living entity is similar in the fact that Lord resides in their heart as Paramatma. And we'll come to that verse. There's a beautiful verse, the 15th verse of this chapter. So we are passing through this different bodies, different lifetimes. Okay, this place, material world, is like a hotel. It's a perverted reflection. All of this is fine. But who is the actual maintainer of the body, mind, and soul? So here Lord Krishna says how he has created all of this, but how does he maintain it? Gama vishya bhutani dharayamyahamo Pushnami chaushadhi sarva somo bhutva rasatmakaha. Hare Krishna. Who can read this translation? Prashant, could you please read this translation?
Yeah, sure. I enter into each planet, and by my energy, they stay in orbit. I become the moon, and thereby supply the juice of life to all vegetables.
Thank you, Prashant. So I enter into each planet. Okay. And there is a description of this. Lord takes three forms. Maybe I'm going into detail, but Lord takes three forms called Garbhodakashai Vishnu, Kshirodakashai Vishnu, and Karanodakashai Vishnu. And Garbhodakashai Vishnu enters into each universe, each planet. Okay. So I enter into each planet, and by my energy, these planets stay in orbit. I become the moon and thereby supply the juice of life to all vegetables. So the nutrients that come in food, where that is also energy. Okay. Where does this energy come from? Where do the planets get the energy? Gravitational energy is also a form of energy. Where does it come from? What's the origin? The Lord Krishna says that I enter into each planet, and by my energy they stay in orbit. I become the moon and thereby supply the juice to all vegetables. There is now advancement in physics. I don't know how many of you are physicists. How many of you might have heard of the unified theory? So the unified theory suggests that all different types of energy, strong nuclear force, weak nuclear force, gravitational energy, the origin is from the same source, right? They're all interconnected, interlinked. So we are progressing towards this. There is a common source for all the energy, but science is way behind what has already been revealed in our scriptures. So it's a cyclical thing. I mean, this is just to reflect the cycles in the material universe. We have the water cycle. We have different layers of the atmosphere. All of this. How has all of this come into existence? How did this cycle develop? How did the energy come from? Where did it come from? So Lord has told that he's providing this energy. Lord Krishna mentions the previous shloka. Maintainer of the body, Aditya Gatam Tejos. He says that I am the splendor of the sun. I supply juice to all the vegetables. Aham Vaishvanaro Bhutva Praninam Deham Ashritaha Pranapana Samayuktaha Pachami Annam Chaturvidham. So Lord Krishna also describes in this chapter that I am the fire of digestion. How does food get digested in our body? Of course, people will explain it in different ways. But again, there is breakdown. There is energy that's required for this breakdown. Where does it all come from? So Lord says that I reside as the fire of digestion and digest food stuff by the prana apana airs, through the outgoing and incoming airs. Okay. This is one of my favorite shlokas in the whole of the Bhagavad Gita. Sarvasya chaham hridi sannivishto matta smriti jnanam apohanam cha vedaischa sarvair ahameva vedyo vedanta krit veda videva chaham. Right. Would somebody please read this translation? Kumarji, would you mind reading this translation?
Can everybody hear me?
Yes, you're audible.
Yeah. I'm seated in everyone's heart, and from me come remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. By all the Vedas, I am to be known. Indeed, I am the compiler of Vedanta, and I am the knower of the Vedas.
Thank you so much, Kumarji. See, Lord Krishna is telling these are his words. Okay. I am seated in everyone's heart, and from me come remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. By all the Vedas, I am to be known. Indeed, I am the compiler of the Vedanta, and I am the knower of the Vedas. So, for us, what we have to focus on is Lord is saying, I am seated in everyone's heart. Sarvasya chaham hridi sannivishto. Like I have mentioned before, Lord Krishna is seated in everybody's heart as Paramatma, as the super soul. He's constantly there with us. We are practically never alone. Never. It's just that we're forgetful of this presence of Lord Krishna with us all the time. With this body, without this body, all the time, Lord Krishna is present with us as the Paramatma. He says, I am the compiler of the Vedas. I am the compiler of the Vedanta. I am the knower of the Vedas. And from me come remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. Why forgetfulness? Because the illusory energy Maya, which causes this forgetfulness, is also an energy of Lord Krishna only, but she's subordinate to him. And she has been employed so that she keeps us entangled in the material world, so that she ensures that we remain in forgetfulness. So it is a constant. When we perform devotional service to Krishna, it becomes very easy in this constant fight with Maya that we are having unknowingly. It becomes very easy for us to win. Maintainer of the soul. He is the creator. He is the maintainer of the soul. And finally, coming to the end of this chapter, essence in 3 verses. So in the last few verses, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, there are 3 verses which form the essence of this chapter. So I'm going to read the 16th verse. Dvavimau purusha uloke ksharas chakshara evacha kshara sarvani bhutani kutastho kshara uchyate. So would Pranav read this translation, please?
There are 2 classes of beings, the fallible and the infallible. In the material world, every living entity is fallible, and in the spiritual world, every living entity is infallible.
Thank you so much, Pranav. So there are 2 classes of beings, fallible and infallible. So what do we mean by this fallible and infallible? Fallible meaning entities, living entities who are bound by their actions and the effects of their actions, okay, the karma and the results, as a result of which they have to keep falling or traveling within, from higher planetary systems to lower planetary systems, they keep falling and keep going through the birth and death cycle. So such beings entrapped in this material universe are called fallible beings. But once you qualify through devotional service to reach the spiritual abode, Yad gatva na nivartante tad dhama paramamala, Lord Krishna said, right? In this, in the previous verse, I exactly don't remember the number of that verse. So there Lord Krishna says that people who come to my abode, they never go back again. They never fall down again. So such beings who have, such perfected beings who have reached the spiritual abode, they are infallible. They never fall back. Another name of Lord Krishna is Achyuta. Achyuta meaning infallible. He never, even if he incarnates in the material world, he has not fallen. He does not have to undergo the karmic effects. He's not bound by karma or by time or by Maya, right? So he's infallible. And all perfected entities in the spiritual world, they're all infallible. They do not fall back to the spiritual world. Some of them do accompany Lord Krishna in his incarnations to just facilitate the pastimes. So fallible and infallible entities. So infallible entities, what are the symptoms of being an infallible entity? They always want to be with Krishna and they never leave the spiritual world. They only leave the spiritual world to facilitate the pastimes of Lord Krishna. Fallible, they independently want to enjoy, perpetually remain in the material world, okay? Because they believe they are lording over the universe and they are here to enjoy everything. God has created everything. Why? For me to enjoy, for us to enjoy. That's the attitude of people who are trapped in this material world. In the 17th verse, Uttamah Purushastvanyaha Paramatmeti Udarataha Yo lokatrayam avishya bibhartyavyaya ishvaraha. Who else can read? Divya, are you in a position to read? Could you read the translation? Okay. If not Divya, Indumati ji? You're not quite audible, Indumati ji. We're not able to hear you. Okay. Not audible. All right. No worries. Okay, Prashant, go ahead and read this.
Besides these two, there is the greatest living personality, the Supreme Soul, the imperishable Lord Himself, who has entered the three worlds and is maintaining them.
Thank you, Prashant. So besides these two, there is the greatest living personality, the Supreme Soul, the imperishable Lord Himself, who has entered the three worlds and is maintaining them. Right. So, like I said, there are infallible and fallible living entities. But besides this, there is also the greatest living personality, the Supreme Soul, the imperishable Lord Himself, Lord Krishna, who has entered the three worlds and maintaining them. There is, don't get confused with the three worlds. There are two main universes, spiritual universe and the material universe. Okay. Supreme Lord. Yasmat ksharamatiitoham aksharaadapi chottamaha atosmi loke vede cha prathita Purushottamaha. Kartikeya, please read the translation.
Because I am transcendental, beyond both the fallible and the infallible, and because I am the greatest, I am celebrated both in the world and in the Vedas as that supreme person.
Thank you, Kartikeya. So, Lord says here that I am transcendental beyond both the fallible and infallible, and because I am the greatest, I am celebrated both in the world and in the Vedas as the supreme person. So this Lord Krishna is not bragging about himself. Okay, a lot of people say, Lord Krishna, if he is God, why does he have to keep saying that I am God, I am God, I am God? We have to know that Lord Krishna is saying this to his dear friend Arjuna. Okay, and he's saying this to reveal his original position to Arjuna, okay, who was unaware of it at first, right? And it's not that Lord Krishna is constantly proclaiming or claiming that he is God. It has been written in so many scriptures. If you look at the first verse, if you look at the 28th verse of the 3rd chapter of the first volume or canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, it says, Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. Lord Krishna is God himself. It's mentioned there. When Sanjaya describes this to Dhritarashtra, what does he say? Shri Bhagavan Uvacha. God is speaking. He never says Krishna Uvacha. He says Shri Bhagavan Uvacha. Why does he have to say that? Because Lord Krishna was God himself, is God himself. And the fact, it's fact, so it cannot be changed, right? And this has been described in the Brahma Samhita as well. Ishvara Parama Krishna Sachidananda Vigraha, the first verse of the Brahma Samhita. There are many more scriptures where this has been described. So it is evidence-based. It is not without evidence, right? So that's the end of the 15th chapter. What all did we see? It's a very important, a beautiful chapter. I highly recommend. There's only 20 verses. I'll share the link to this chapter today on the group, okay? And I strongly recommend that you at least read through the translations of these 20 verses, and you'll open up a lot of things. And purports by Srila Prabhupada, written by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, extraordinary purports. Beautiful descriptions that he has given in the purports of the chapter and the verses here. I strongly recommend that you all take some time and read this whenever you can. So this material universe, this is not the real abode, and that is why everything is temporary here. This is a temporary, perverted reflection of the spiritual world. So it is obviously a temporary stay for us. It's like a hotel. It's like a guest house. You can come stay for a while, and then you have to leave. Nobody can stay here forever. So nobody can have eternal bodies here. So this is like a hotel, it's not home. Until we realize this fact that this is a temporary abode, this is a temporary place, and we have forgotten our true relationship with Krishna, until we realize this, we have to keep coming in this, keep coming in this material universe in different planets, different bodies, on and on, over and over again. Birth and death cycles going to go on never-endingly. So how can we get free from this? How can we leave this reflection illusion and go back to the original abode? Identifying that Lord Krishna is constantly present with us in our heart. He's the maintainer of this body, mind, and soul. Okay. If we take his shelter and refuge, we can, by performing unalloyed pure devotional service as described previously in the 12th chapter and various other chapters, we can easily pass through this material universe and go back to the spiritual abode. Beautifully, the acharyas describe, the learned scholars, they describe, it is like this is there in a verse in the Vedas, I believe. So this material universe is called Bhavsagar, okay, meaning huge ocean, okay, deep, huge ocean that seems to go on endlessly. But for a devotee of Krishna, crossing this ocean becomes like crossing water that is, stagnated in the hoof. If a calf stands in mushy sand, the hoof of that calf gets imprinted there, right? And if rainwater stagnates into that footprint, how small would that body of water be? For a devotee of Lord Krishna, this whole material universe becomes as small as that water collected in that footprint of the calf, becomes as small as that, as easy as that to cross. This is how the learned scholars, acharyas, describe the effect of performing devotional service to Lord Krishna. Among all types of yogas, we've realized that bhakti yoga, the art of the yoga of devotional service, is the best path, isn't it? So here we have seen a glimpse, a reflection of, a glimpse of the spiritual world. What's the difference between the material and spiritual worlds, right? So what is reality, what is reflection, and how do we get rid of or get free from this reflection? So how do we free ourselves from the repeated cycles of birth and death? How is this possible? By knowing that Krishna is our protector and maintainer, he's the supreme person. And by taking shelter under him, taking his refuge, we can free ourselves from the clutches of this material energy and Maya, right? So the different types of living entities, fallible, infallible, and the supreme person, God, who is above both of these. This is what we have seen in this chapter. The acronym is HOME, right? All right, I was assuming we could do 16th as well, seeing that this was a small chapter, but no, I was wrong. There's so much philosophy in this 15th chapter. Like I previously said, I knew that I might not be able to proceed ahead. So we'll do 16th chapter next week. And I think it's a good starting point for you to go back and read these verses from this 15th chapter over the week. I'll share the links in the group, and it's great food for thought. If you read further some of the verses, you can read more about the Vaikuntha planets. I'll share some more resources possibly about the Vaikuntha planets as well. So it'll increase your curiosity about the spiritual world. So thank you so much for patiently listening. That's the end of the 15th chapter. We'll proceed with 16th chapter on Monday. So we will stop here and we'll quickly do the live quiz, right? Okay. So everybody please get ready on the chat box. And we're going to do the live quiz. I hope everyone's ready in the chat box. Just give me one moment and I'll tell you the first question. First one is going to be easy because I've told this over and over again. The first question for you is, in which verse of the 15th chapter does Lord Krishna say that I reside in your heart? Which verse of the 15th chapter does Lord Krishna say that I reside in your heart? So we'll wait for everybody to answer. Excellent, everybody is unanimously answering this question. Amazing. 5 more seconds. Okay. I'm going to go off video for 5 seconds and then the next question will come out. Okay, next question is, so is there a sun, moon, fire, or electricity in the spiritual world? Second question. Keeping it simple because this whole chapter is heavy in philosophy. Absolutely. Perfect. So 5 more seconds for the people to answer. And then we will go on to the next question. Okay. Okay, I believe I forgot to announce the live quiz winners from Monday's session. Right, I'm sorry. Okay, I'll put that up today. Okay, from Monday's winners and today's winners will be on the group today. Right, the last question. How is the material world described in the first verse of the 15th chapter? How is the material world described in the first verse of the 15th chapter? There can be multiple correct answers for this, okay? Right. Prashant has given an on-point answer, but all of your answers are correct. Like a hotel, yes. But in the first verse, yeah. If you look at the exact translation, banyan tree with roots upward and branches down. But what does that exactly mean? Okay, 5 more seconds for everyone to answer. Temporary abode, absolutely, Karen. Yes. Temporary and infallible, Arushi. Yes. Hotel, temporary. Yes, all of your answers are correct. But essentially, if you have to put it in one phrase, it is a perverted reflection, okay, of the spiritual world. It's a reflection of the actual banyan tree. So it is a reflection of the spiritual world. Okay. Right. Amazing. So that we are done with the live quiz for now, and I'll announce the winners today. Hopefully, I'll announce it early. Sorry, I've been busy over the week, so I've not been able to put up the resources as quickly as I used to before. Okay, so today you can expect the resources to be there like before 10 p.m. on the group. All right, great. So now I'm very happy to take your questions. Any questions that you have, please pop it in the chat box or please unmute yourself and you can ask questions. I know the chapter might have made you all confused or completely speechless, or I don't know what it has caused. Has it caused havoc? Yes. Any questions? No questions at all. Diptanshu, you're asking something? Okay. Diptanshu also has no doubts. Prashant, you also don't have doubts today. Prashant knows the answer, so he's like, okay. No doubts at all? Diptanshu is saying you're the effulgent one, Prashant. Right. So, sorry for, yeah. All right then, if there are no questions, please feel free to pop your questions in the group as well, if you feel like there's anything. If there are no questions, today we have a few more people and I'd love to get the feedback from you. We did get feedback from other people over the last week, in the last session. And it was very nice to see the feedbacks. Karen, how have you been finding the sessions? I've not heard from you. And who else have I not heard from? I think Divya, not sure if you gave your feedback before. It would be nice to hear from Karen, Divya, and even others. How are you feeling the sessions are going? And do you feel that there's anything different that can be done? How are you feeling about this course at this point in time? Please pop in your feedbacks in the chat box. Okay, Karen says, missed lots, so I have many gaps to fill. But what I have been able to attend has been very interesting and enlightening. Okay, thank you, Karen. That's nice. We are sharing recordings anyway, so you can catch up with those. Yeah, Divya's also missed a few sessions, so have to catch up. Okay, yes. Right. Okay. Others are lazy to type their feedbacks, or they're just happy and satisfied with however it is. Okay. All right then. So I will share wouldn't take too much time for you to read translations of these 20 verses. So I will share the link to Veda Base on the group, okay, which is like an online ebook platform. And it's if you little bit spend some time finding out how to use it, it's not a big deal. So you can learn how to bookmark what you like, you can make notes, you can change you can look at the verse texts and in readable formats. So yes, Veda Base is a very good resource. Yes. Maybe someday we should all get together for a kirtan, physically all present there and singing together. Absolutely. And that is what we're planning for. We're not planning it, we're already executing it. So we're getting everything together. 24th June, we're all meeting. Yes, but those who are in and around Dundee, if any of you are coming to Dundee, I'm available to meet you because I'm in Dundee. So you can please let me know. Also, if you want to have yes, we can do an icebreaker session where all of us come on video someday and meet each other, if at least not physically, because some of you are in Edinburgh, some of you are in Brighton, some of you are in Dundee, and I'm not sure other places as well. Divya is in Portugal. Karthike will soon be in Portugal. So it might an in-person thing might be difficult, but we can definitely do an online icebreaker meet with all of you, and we can all catch up with each other, right? So that's definitely possible. We'll do that. Thank you for the suggestion, Shachi. Yes, Arushi thinks it's great. Yes, absolutely. Okay. Okay, Divya says I'm gonna miss that too. Oh, don't worry. We will make it online so that you can all participate, and we'll do it on a day that everybody can be there. Referring to the book will reinforce things. Definitely, Kumarji, definitely. Learning the concepts is fine, but opening the book, the Bhagavad Gita itself, is a different experience. Lord Krishna's words reside there. It's called the Song of Lord Krishna, the Song of God. So it's beautiful. The book itself has a huge effect, and we are going to make books available to you on the 24th of June. Not only the Bhagavad Gita, but other books as well. So if any of you would like to have the Bhagavad Gita at home with you, please do come and attend the event, and we will have books there to give it, right? To pass it on to you people. Prashant, is there any relationship between Kalpa and Kalpa Vriksha? Yes. Prashant, is he here? Okay. Yes, Prashant is here. Sorry. Yes, Kalpa is a period of time, like I had previously mentioned, right? I think 1,000 years of Brahma is called a Kalpa. Right now, exactly not good with my memory, but this is what I remember. But Kalpa Vriksha is the wish-fulfilling tree. And it's described that in the spiritual abode, all the trees there are wish-fulfilling trees. Anything that you desire is a thought away, basically. So this is the description of the spiritual abode. And you will realize that this is It's not something that somebody can imagine and write elaborate descriptions about. If you want greater descriptions of the realm called Goloka Vrindavana, where Lord Krishna resides, you must read the Brahma Samhita. So it has beautiful descriptions of Goloka Vrindavana. Yeah. Yes, definitely. So I think this is an interesting thing that you have suggested. I'll put it up on the group. Maybe over the weekend we can all meet on a Saturday or Sunday if everybody is available to meet. Right. Amazing. Prashant is saying he'll visit that spiritual abode. It's not a place to visit, it's a place to go there and stay forever. Right? Okay. Yes, definitely. And another thing that I wanted to inform you all is that, I mean, this is just like a trailer of the Bhagavad Gita, what we have gone through. It's just an introduction to the Bhagavad Gita, this course. If we do an advanced course and nothing is going to be charged, okay, it's all free. It's just that we do this from ISKCON because it's the need of the hour that we know our own scriptures. It's the need of the hour that we know the Bhagavad Gita. It is our holy scripture. And if we do not know it, then who will? Right? So we will be doing advanced discussions where we will read verse by verse the translations and purports of the Bhagavad Gita. And I would be doing this. So people who complete all the quizzes, at least 12 of the quizzes, will become eligible to join this advanced course. And I will put this up on the group. So those who have missed out on lectures in this 18-day course, you can do at least 12 of the quizzes and join the advanced course. And nobody is going to charge you anything. Neither is it going to you are going to be asked for anything in it. So that is assured. So you can freely join that course, and it will be like a half an hour discussion every day. And it'll open up a lot of things, and it'll open up a different perspective for you to view life. It has done that to me. So I'm sure it'll do this. It'll have similar effects for you people as well. A lot of people, not just me. So whoever is interested to read the Bhagavad Gita in detail, please do, because now is the time. We'll not get this time again. Right? Okay. Yes, if Bhagavad Gita within the epic Mahabharata has so much to learn, then what will other chapters be? Definitely. Yes, Kumarji, absolutely you're right, because the Mahabharata is actually a story form of the Vedas. Vyasa, Srila Vyasa Deva wrote the Mahabharata for the benefit of the less intelligent class of men. This description comes in the Srimad Bhagavatam. People who are not Brahmanas and who do not have the intelligence or the ability to read Sanskrit verses and understand them, how will they understand the message of the Vedas? For them specifically, Veda Vyasa wrote the epic Mahabharata, so that all the messages within the Vedas are conveyed in a simple story form, right? Even to less intelligent people, it becomes easy to grasp and understand. Yes. It would be great if there will be a course on Srimad Bhagavatam. So the Bhagavad Gita is like, it's like your 10th and 11th grade study in spirituality. So after you complete 10th and 11th grade, you can go to bachelor's degree in university, which is the Srimad Bhagavatam. And there are further scriptures called Chaitanya Charitamrita and Leelamrits, etc. that come as postgraduate study. So yes, you can, Prashant, you should definitely read Srimad Bhagavatam, all of you in fact. But it's necessary to go step by step. So the first and elementary basic level is not basic. There's so much in the Bhagavad Gita, but in the ladder of the scriptural hierarchy, Bhagavad Gita is the beginning. So you have to start with the Bhagavad Gita and then proceed towards Srimad Bhagavatam. Okay. And as you read Srila Prabhupada's purports of the Bhagavad Gita, you will find so many references to other Upanishads. Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, Kathopanishad, Shvetashvatara Upanishad, this Srimad Bhagavatam, Brihad Bhagavatamrita, so many, Narada Pancharatra, so many scriptures. And by just reading the Bhagavad Gita, you will get a vast knowledge. Okay. So yes, I definitely invite you all to do this advanced course, which will be like a half an hour reading and discussion of each verse and purport of the Bhagavad Gita. Right. So I'll announce this on the group as well.
Yeah, can I just add one point, Raji?
Yes,
Uh,
Pranav.
yeah, this is out of my experience. I think when it comes to scriptures, right, belief and understanding goes hand in hand. That's why
Yeah.
if you randomly open Bhagavad Purana and read, which I did a long time ago, it didn't make absolute sense to me. It'll feel like this is some humbug, this is some imaginary story that people are writing. It will not make any sense. Like that is exactly what happens when people, take random, let's say, verse, translate it into English, and then write an article out of it.
Yeah.
This is what I experienced, and I totally concur when Raji said, that you need to go step by step, because at every step your level will increase. Now, even now, when people say, there is a level, I don't think a lot of us will be able to actually visualize what is that level, what is that planetary system. So it actually makes sense when you, when you do sadhana, meaning practice, do chanting, all these steps will, inculcate that belief in you, and that is when probably it might be a better step to read Bhagavad Purana. I tried reading, and it will not make absolute sense. It will be like chaotic. It will make you question religion. It will make you question all your existing belief systems.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
just be chaotic. That's my experience I wanted to share. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Pranav. Absolutely. You're right. So Bhagavata, like I said, it's like a university undergrad study. And if you're still in elementary, primary school, you can't expect to understand an undergrad textbook, right? So that's how it is. You need to take it step by step. And even before starting the Bhagavatam, it is essential. Bhagavatam is a very complex scripture than the Bhagavad Gita. And it's necessary that you are instructed by a qualified person, especially for the Srimad Bhagavatam. Okay. So first, once you yourself have, Bhagavad Gita causes a transformation of the heart in the first place. And that transformation of the heart is essential before we delve into other scriptures. So like Pranav said, like I previously mentioned, we can take it step by step. And we have a very good speaker called Baleshwara Prabhu, okay, who will be guiding us about what next after the Bhagavad Gita. Once we finish this course on the 19th of June, I believe it's a Monday, we'll have a session with Baleshwar Prabhu, who will tell us what comes after the Bhagavad Gita 18-day course. Okay. And he will be able to guide us further also with deeper study of the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. So I strongly recommend that you all join his session. I'll post that shortly on the group, right? Does the Bhagavad Gita and Ramayana have any overlap? In the literal sense, no. But in philosophical sense, definitely, because Lord Sri Ram is an incarnation of Lord Krishna, okay? Unlike the popular belief in the Dashavatara system, Lord Krishna, if you look at the Brahma Samhita and read the Srimad Bhagavatam, you realize that he is the supreme person and he expands into different forms. One of the incarnations is Lord Rama. So when you are reading about Lord Krishna, obviously it includes Lord Rama and his qualities as well. Okay. So that way Ramayana and Bhagavad Gita overlap, but otherwise they're different entities in our scriptures. Okay. I hope I've answered your question, Kumarji. Right. All right. I think it's been a long time. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for your interesting questions and the announcements that I've made about what next after Bhagavad Gita and advanced course. I'll put that up on the group, right? We will have an icebreaker session, Shachi's feedback, and all of you have accepted, so we'll do that. Thank you for sticking by for so long, okay? Before ending today's session, I request that all of you kindly pray with me, that we all develop this loving devotional service for Lord Krishna, this loving devotional service for God, and we all are able to free ourselves and others from this constant cycle of birth and death, right? And with this prayer, we will chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra 3 times together. Kindly join me. If you can unmute, please do so. Okay. And we put our hands hands up like this as a sign of surrender. Request you all to do that as well. And chant with me the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. And I'll end with a prayer for all of you. Pancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Ananta koti vaishnavriddha ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna, all of you. I'll share the quiz for today and the winners and all the announcements in the group. Okay, I'll meet you on Monday next week. And it's going to be the 16th chapter on Monday. Yes. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Karen. Thank you, Pranav. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Divya, for joining all the way from Portugal. Hare Krishna.